right, welcome back to another Catholic Dads podcast. I'm Jeff,
This is Chad.
and we're excited to bring you a podcast on brand new microphones.
Yes, yeah, technology.
Yeah, so this will be fun. Well, hopefully the sound will be a little bit more level and enjoyable for your listening pleasure. So, I guess a little banter is always appropriate. So celebrated a 40th birthday since last we got together.
Nice.
So thanks for getting microphones for my birthday, Chad.
Yes, you're welcome. This was definitely a birthday gift that keeps on giving.
It'll just keep on giving, especially to you because you get to listen. So anyway, I guess the topic. Did you want me to go ahead and roll with it?
Absolutely.
So we'll see where this goes. I don't have any notes or really a clear picture as to where we'll end up, but fasting is always an interesting topic, I think, because it's so ubiquitous throughout the scripture that this is something that we should do as part of our faith and something that God asks us to do. And I guess the thought to just kind of throw out is, in this world where we have so many opportunities to not fast, so many opportunities to just go out to get something to eat, any variety of food is pretty much available within a small radius of being able to drive. But then you also look at media, you look at phones and just all of the things that not just food that would be good to fast from. I guess the thought that's been running around is really that practice certainly is about giving up for Christ, or giving a bit back to Christ, so there's a bit of a tithe there. But I also think that fasting allows you to kind of develop that muscle memory of just being able to say no to things. And I think it really comes down to a practice of self-control. And so I've always thought that fasting sounded like a pretty cool spiritual thing to do. And like everything else, I've never done it. So this week gave it a try, and I went really, really well. It was pretty interesting. I did just a quick sort of overnight fast from like a Wednesday lunch to Thursday morning breakfast. We have a really nice 6:30 a.m. mass here in Kingwood, so that's how I broke my fast, and I will continue to do that, I think, every week from now on, because I quite enjoyed it. There was a World Series game Wednesday night, so go Astros, which was able to fast through that, and despite wanted to have a beer and some chips and whatever else, the timing of it was just, hey, look, this is what I need to do. And I think there was a lot of grace there because it never felt like a sacrifice. So
Just to be clear, you fasted from food. You fasted from
food.
What did your fast look like,
right,
particularly?
Exactly. Yeah, so just food, right? So food and alcohol drinks. So I just had water. So started about 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, just nothing but water. So basically skipped that dinner, if you will, and then went to mass, then had that as my fast break, and then had a quick Chick-fil-A on the way into work. So kind of a quick one. I slept through most of it, but just kind of getting that practice of breaking the habit of coming home. As soon as you get home, open up the refrigerator or taking out the plate of whatever was dinner that night, and during a World Series game, of course, having a beer or two and all the other stuff that goes with that. It's just that kind of that practice of a little bit of self-denial, but then also being very intentional in our behavior, and I think that can apply to anything, right? It can be to our devices, to whatever it is that we look at and go, well, there's a little bit too much of this in my life, and it's interfering with the things that I want to do.
So let me just ask you this. So I've a long time ago, there's a ministry. It's called Ephesians 5. Have you ever heard of that ministry? So Ephesians, it's E5. It's an E5 man or E5 men. And I signed up for E5 men probably, oh my gosh, 15 years ago. I mean, see, and I still get their emails.
Right.
It's like the first Wednesday of the month. You fast, and it's like just bread and water. Mm-hmm. And you're praying for the intentions of your wife, and really women everywhere. Mm-hmm. Not just your wife, but women everywhere. And so I had that habit way back when, and I've since not dropped that habit. But one of the things that was always a challenge for me was to say, like when I got home, because it's easy. It's just like everything. Everything's easy whenever it's on your own.
Right.
It's easy for me to work out on my own. It's
Yep.
easy for me to fast when I'm on my own. It's easy for me to pray when I'm on my own. You know, I get challenged whenever it's like when you got to bring it to the family. So, you know, that's what this podcast is all about, is how do we bring these things to the family? And what did that look like for you? Because I know I struggled whenever it's like that first Wednesday of the month and I was going to be fasting. It was easy for me to fast during the, you know, when I woke up and not eat anything during for breakfast and not eat anything during lunch.
Yep.
But then I'm going to come home and my wife is going to have this big, beautiful meal prepared and I'm going to sit down and eat a piece of bread.
Right.
And, you know, I think it's you know, for me, it was a communication deal. I didn't really communicate because I felt kind of weird. It felt kind of awkward. It's like, you know, I'm fasting for you. I'm doing this for you.
Right.
You know, it's like, I don't know. It just felt weird. I mean, so how did you, in your fast yesterday, you know, when you got home from work, you know, or did you have that discussion beforehand to say, hey, Aaron, this is what I'm going to do? Or, hey, kids, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
Like, was it weird at the dinner table? And
it ended up not being, because I just had gotten home kind of late from work anyway. And so we just dropped right into the night. And then, you know, the game was basically starting up and everybody was kind of running around and, you know, just doing their own thing anyway. So, you know, but I had thought about that, you know, like, okay, what happens if there's a birthday that comes up on a Wednesday? You know, like how dedicated do you be to this? You know, how much of a sacrifice do you make and that sort of thing. The other thing too, I mean, it you know, purposefully started at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon after lunch at work, you know, just to kind of get in the habit of going forward. And then of course, you know, don't send us emails or whatever. I know that, you know, the fast really should be, you know, like a sun up through sundown, so it's the entire day and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's whatever you make it. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, this is just something that you're doing, and
it's a first practice, right?
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to do the Easter Vigil fast. You know, there's been a couple of years that I've tried that, and you get to about, you know, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever, and you're like, but maybe I will just have a sandwich, you know. So, you know, you have to start kind of with a practice. And I remember talking to a good priest friend years ago and about this topic, because I've always been drawn to it and just never have just done it, you know. And he said, look, it's a practice that you really have to work up to, because, you know, your body has to get used to it. You have to get used to it. It's just like anything else. It's a kind of a skill or a muscle that you just have to grow. So, you know, maybe this starts now, and then, you know, a couple months, then, you know, start a little bit earlier. Maybe just do it, you know, start at like 10 in the morning or whatever. Skip lunch and dinner. And just, you know, let it go and see how things go. But no, you know, I really felt like there was a lot of grace around it, because I was never hungry, you know, which honestly, you know, thinking about that too, is like, should I have been, you know, with all of the great food and everything that we have, I mean, should I really be hungry if I miss one meal? Probably not, you know. And then when I woke up in the morning, I was like, oh, hey, this is great. You know, I'm going to go to Mass. And there was no, you know, we always programmed the pot of coffee to start in the morning. So the coffee was there, you know, so I filled up my mug and took it with me in the car. And, you know, I had absolutely no, like, it wasn't calling to me. It wasn't like, hey, you know, have a sip before you go in. There wasn't anything like that. So I think there was a lot of grace there.
Cool.
And I felt that before, too, when you do, like, a Lenten sacrifice. You know, not to get off on a tangent, but I feel like the years that I chose well, the sacrifice wasn't difficult. And then I've had years where it was like, oh, I just kind of did like a throwaway, you know, night before Ash Wednesday, oh, maybe I'll just give up coffee again or whatever. And it was like really hard.
That's never a good idea, by the way.
It was like, well, there was a couple of years, which I guess is kind of a fast, it's a Lenten fast, right? This coffee was kind of my thing to give up for Lent. And the first couple of years, like, you know, I didn't have any caffeine headaches, didn't have any withdrawals, you know, it was just like, kind of didn't miss it, you know, it was like, this is cool, you know, kind of like again, I think there was a lot of grace there. And then it just became like, that was just what I was going to do. And it, you know, eventually didn't have any meaning. And so there was one year that I just had raging, you know, withdrawal headaches. And so it lasted about 3 days. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this, you know. But you know, I think there's probably some newness that was going on stuff too, but I really liked it, you know.
I want to go back to so we were talking when I'd asked, you know, what it looked like when you came home.
Yep.
So, I mean, like moving forward, you're going to have a lot of opportunities And I think that, if I could learn anything from, I do want to talk about how what you did inspired me to do something, but
Cool.
but like looking back on what I did way back when, it's like those are opportunities for us to really bring our family in.
Oh yeah.
To our spiritual practices. And I mean, it's we talked about it before about like faith. You need to quote unquote exercise your faith and like build those faith muscles.
Yep.
It's and again, it's easy to do things on your own. It's more difficult whenever you're in the family unit. So it's like these are great opportunities, I think, for you to like lead the way and for us to lead the way with our families to say, hey, this is something that I'm going to do. I'm going to sacrifice, and this is why I'm doing it.
Right.
And it I would imagine we'd be blown away by the responses our kids would give us. Like, it might be stereotypical to think that our teenagers would be like, yeah, whatever, but you never know. I mean, they might be like, they might ask questions.
Yep.
They might want to dig deeper.
Yep.
So I think that was maybe for the next time, you can plan ahead and, just say, hey, by the way, this is what's going to go on, and just have a conversation. And then who knows what it's going to inspire in the kids and what they're going to say and in our wives,
And that's one, I think the nice thing about that is doing a full day is quite a discipline, and you have to build up to that, where doing something where you say, okay, you know what, it's one night a week, it's the middle of the week, it's a Wednesday. So honestly, and the only reason I really picked that is because I thought it'd be cool for the mass. That's
really cool. I like that idea, definitely.
But I mean, it ends up being like, hey, it's the middle of the week, there's going to be chances that it's like, hey, let's go out. It's, nobody wants to cook tonight, we'll go out. Okay, fine, I'm going to have, a glass of water and you guys enjoy the meal or whatever, and not making it anything other than, this is a sacrifice that I'm doing, and but I think too, it's a sacrifice, I'm sure there'll be opportunities like that where it becomes one day is more of a sacrifice than another, it wasn't a huge sacrifice to not have anything to eat or drink during the Astros game. I mean, that's not anything, but there, if there's a holiday or if there's a birthday or something, that'll be a different kind of thing,
tend to kind of graze, like cattle.
Exactly. Right.
Especially in a game like a game like that.
Well, it was awesome. I'm sure you all watched it. But I enjoyed it, and I think, what I want to do is then allow that to kind of touch other areas of my life in terms of the habits that, I want to try to grow into. And again, the devices, I think we've talked about doing a podcast on that, so that'll be coming, but how we can make the devices help us and how in a lot of ways they just really, really steer us away from the things that we need to do. And we need to fast from those too, and so this is just, it overall, I think, should help with that. So.
Yeah. And so like inspired by what you were doing, and it was just like in the back of my head, but one of the things that I've come to just observe about myself is that I'm like a slave to the technology. I won't run without Runkeeper.
Right.
Like that's just, I can't fathom running without Runkeeper. I've made that comment many times. I've been running with Runkeeper for like 7 years.
Yep.
So I've got 7 years of data built up on all that stuff, and don't like to run without music. It's like, so the other day, I guess it was Tuesday, a coworker of mine wanted to run, and asked if I wanted to run with him, because he's a true runner. This dude is like just, he runs like marathons and all this and that. And this was his cool down day. This was his lazy day because he had run, I don't know how many millions of miles the day before at whatever blistering pace he ran it. And he needed to get the lactic acid out.
Sure.
So he's like, because he had asked me what I got my pace down to, and I was like, well, on a good day, I'm in like the 9.5. He's like, hey, well, maybe we can run tomorrow, or and I was like, yeah, let's do that. And I'm thinking like he's not going to really want to run with me. Well, he did, and so we ran. And well, when you're running with somebody else, you're not going to have headphones on. So I'm like, so that number one, it's like, no music to run to, and I told him like, I'm not going to be able to talk, to keep up with you. He's going to be doing a lazy run, and I'm going to be like busting it to get this pace. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not going to be able to really talk, but I enjoyed the conversations that we did have, and I asked him. I was like, why do you run? So this is why we're running. I'm like, so why did you start running? What keeps you running and all that? And our answers were both the same. It was like basically to get away, to have time to ourselves and all this.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentioned that he doesn't like running with music because he can really zone out.
Right.
So that's a really long way to say that basically inspired by you and inspired by what he said, yesterday I ran without anything.
Right.
I didn't bring my phone. I didn't bring, so I didn't have music. I didn't have Runkeeper.
Right.
And it was like crazy because, first of all, the first at least half mile, if not the first mile, was my own noise.
Mm-hmm.
The noise in my head. When I run, I've always run with music. So like it was like I was listening to music. It was really weird.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was like, this is crazy. I'm hearing music. And it was just like the weirdest thing. But then it's like the noise started to fall away, and then I could start thinking about things, and it was like the thing that kept coming up was, this is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a freedom, and another thing about that run with Chris was, he was like, how many miles do you want to do? And I said 4.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, okay, we'll do this loop. So he takes me on this route that I'd never gone on, and whenever we were coming in, he was like, I'm going to go ahead and I need to really bust it, so I'm going to leave you. I'm like, that's cool, that's fine. And so he took off. Well, I looked at my phone because I was running with Runkeeper,
mm-hmm.
even though I didn't have music, and it wasn't 4 miles. So when I get to the stop point, I couldn't stop
mm-hmm.
because in my mind it's like, no, you got to do 4 miles. So I had to run like an additional little leg to get to the 4.0 on my Runkeeper and stop it. And so yesterday when I ran and I didn't have anything, it was like, I could start running when I wanted to. I could stop running it was just weird. I mean, it's like, and not that you couldn't do it, but when I have that phone there and I've got the technology in front of me, I'm thinking, I got to get to this or whatever. I got to make that pace. But there was a freedom in not having that attachment of this device.
Yep.
So I thought that was really cool. And it was like, how does that spill over into our daily lives? What attachments do we have because of all this noise that we have going on,
right.
Be it, food or devices or whatever. It's like there's a certain freedom of having less.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
like, here we live in a land of abundance. We live in a wonderful nation, and we're blessed with a lot of opportunity to have so much.
Right.
That you think that's freedom. I'm free to have, that song says I'm free to do what I want any old time or whatever. But it's like, there's real freedom when you're not attached to any of that. That's like real freedom.
Right.
And I felt that on the run.
Yeah.
By fasting, if you will, from my Runkeeper.
Yeah. I think that's the point to just drive home, is that really is that's why it's in the scriptures. That's why we're asked to fast. That's why it's a spiritual practice in almost all faiths throughout the world, is that is it disconnects you from the day-to-day, right? It makes you think about, what you have, because you're giving up something.
Yeah.
And so there's an appreciation there. There's a little bit of a gratitude to God for what you have, because you're purposely saying that, I know you've given me this, but I'm going to take it away. And then there's that discipline of just, I live in a habitual world. As human beings, we are habitual creatures. Neighbors are going to work, and,
on his Harley.
But we are habitual creatures, and it's a lot of times it's the habits that'll cause us to fall into the near
occasions of sin.
Near occasion of sin, which turns into sin, right?
Absolutely,
and so, that habit of just coming in, 10 o'clock, ball game's on, let me go get something else to eat. The habit of just, coming into the kitchen as soon as I get home and not walking around the house and saying hi to everybody or whatever it is, right? Fasting is a way to get away from those habits and just in a little way break those down and then try to grow from that. So
yeah, I like it.
All right.
I'm inspired to do some type of a fast by your actions. So if nothing else, you've inspired me.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Well, good deal.
Find us on Facebook.
Catholic Dads Podcast at gmail.com. And we'll see you next time.